Welcome to Devine Intervention, shedding light on Illinois property tax.
Hello and welcome to Devine Intervention, shedding light on Illinois property tax with Nora Devine. Nora has been a property tax attorney in private practice since 2005. She has developed a statewide practice in all jurisdictions in Illinois, and she represents all property classes as well. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and in today's episode, we're going to discuss the property tax appeal playbook and talk about what businesses and commercial real estate property owners need to keep in mind. Nora, welcome back.
Thank you.
So what should property owners, business owners look for when they're hiring a property tax appeal attorney? Are there specific qualities or experience they should prioritize?
Yeah, I think everything is in flux these days about how do you pick the right representative. Real estate tax in Illinois, particularly in Cook County, has always been thought of as you got to hire the person with the connections or hire the person with the clout. These days, that has become very radioactive and nobody wants that anymore. Now people are more inclined to hire the most competent person who can do a good job, charge fair fees, and not put the property on the front page of the Tribune or the Sun-Times.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to me. Are there specific qualities or experience that you think that people should prioritize? Are there certain, I don't know, is there like a, because it is a specialized practice.
Yeah, I think you want somebody that is tech enabled, that's going to be able to, present the case in a way that looks good. I mean, there are property tax appeal firms that are still completely paper-based, that don't know how to use Excel, that, their billing systems are still like loose leaf paper in a 3-ring binder. I mean, it's really incredible.
15 file cabinets along the wall.
Yeah, there's people that are still like got all the cabinets and everything like that. And it's really hard to be nimble and efficient and reactive when you're so paper-based and everybody has to be in the office 5 days a week. And I have found that, we have a much better ability to onboard clients quickly, even in light of, impending deadlines, and to take on new portfolios of property, even large portfolios, and be able to, take that info in with the help of all the technology that we use. And so it just depends. I mean, if you are enjoying the old school experience and, people who are typing things literally on a typewriter and sending them to you, in the mail or as an Adobe attachment that you have to print out and sign and scan and send back. And, I think that somebody who's a little more tech-enabled can be a better experience in terms of digital signatures, taking in large volumes of income documentation, rent rolls, things like that, being able to discern those quickly, being able to translate those into a beautiful, understandable work product that the government is going to want to look at and read and understand. So yeah, I think there's a move toward people who have those systems in place. And I think it's a contingent practice pretty much. I mean, everybody charges contingent fees of varying degrees. And, somebody that's willing to offer a kind of a bulk pricing discount for the larger portfolios and, is willing to work with you on capping the fees instead of charging enormous contingent fees that have no end, or no cap to them. And I have, friends in other firms that don't cap their fees, and their reasoning is, flat fee, flat effort. I don't agree with that. I mean, I think that you should charge a fair fee. And if you're sinking X amount of time into a file, it makes sense to put a cap on that fee so that, you're not kind of taking all the savings that the property owner really, really needs to have.
How important is it for the attorney to have experience with the local tax assessment process?
Well, there's only one property tax code in Illinois, so you would think I could just read this property tax code and I'm off to the races and I can represent properties all over the state, but it's not really true. There's 102 counties, and so there's 102 supervisors of assessment, and there's 102 boards of review, and in all these different counties, there's anywhere between 12 and 24 local township assessors. So yeah, it is smart, I think, if you're dealing with property outside of Cook County, to make sure that you're hiring somebody who spends time representing properties outside of Cook County, because it just creates a lot more leverage if you can hire someone who is a known entity in multiple different counties. If you just hire a lawyer from Main Street who doesn't really know property tax that well, they may go to the board of review hearing, they may not, and they may not strike the same, they may not be able to leverage as much settlement negotiation power, because it's a kind of a big question mark as to whether or not they're going to be able to fully pursue the case at the Property Tax Appeal Board, whether they know how to take a case fully to hearing. So if you send in a property tax attorney who's specialized in that area and has a reputation that's been built over decades for knowing how to try a case at the Property Tax Appeal Board, knowing how to settle, knowing when it's time to settle, knowing when it's time to go to hearing, then you can create more leverage earlier on in the case. And I think that's a real advantage for the property taxpayer, because you can get the property tax appeal resolved at the lowest level possible. They're going to say, okay, this person knows what they're doing. This person hired the right expert. This person has the case teed up correctly. And then they start thinking in that way, where they're thinking about, what will the person that's one level above me think about this case? So they start thinking in adjudicative capacity. They may think, okay, I'm looking at this appraisal. It's pretty good. I know this appraiser, they're pretty good. They do well under testimony. I know this lawyer, she's pretty good. You know, what will the next level of appeal think about this case? And what will the next level of appeal do with this case? Because that's the thing about property tax in Illinois, is there is a lot of due process built into the system, and assessing officials who think that this is my number and no one should change it. Well, they've got another thing coming, because it's not their number. The assessor's number is not their number, because the Board of Review can change it. Board of Review's number is not their number, because the Property Tax Appeal Board can change it. Property Tax Appeal Board, it's not their number either, because the Circuit Court can change it. So, there's always someone over you that can change the number. So at some point, they do start wondering, well, how is this going to pan out at the next level of appeal? And if you hire someone with experience who knows which experts to use and knows how to bring a case to its full conclusion, then it creates more leverage, and it creates the leverage earlier, and it gets the matter resolved sooner, in my experience.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too. It's not just understanding the actual law process of each individual area, but it's about knowing the assessors and the other lawyers and the judges and just everybody. How the whole thing generally plays out is not the same in one city as it might be in another. So that makes sense.
And there are some counties where you can get a full consideration in front of the Board of Review in that county. And you know that because you've been there, and you can tell the client that, hey, the Board of Review is probably going to be willing to make this change if we show them XYZ. Whereas in other counties, you can manage your client's expectations, and you can say, hey, even if we walk in there with the best evidence on planet Earth, this Board of Review is not going to make a change over and above this assessor's recommendation. Mm-hmm. So in other words, there are some counties where nothing is going to happen at the Board of Review level. And I already know that because I've already been there however many dozens or hundreds of times. And so it's become a property tax appeal board practice in some of these counties. And having that experience is great, because then you can manage the client expectations up front.
What are some red flags that you would say, business owners, property owners should watch out for if they're considering a tax appeal attorney?
The first question I ask anybody who wants to move their commercial portfolio over to me is, well, who was representing you in the past? Because I have dozens of colleagues in this practice area, and dozens, and many of them are excellent lawyers, and they're following the same standards of care that I am. And so if they're unhappy with their lawyer, many times I can tell them, I don't think I'm going to make you happy, because
I do the same thing.
I'm going to, I can pull these files and I can give you a second opinion about what's been done here. But I can already tell you, I know this lawyer, I know their work product, I know which appraisers they use, and I probably would be doing the same exact thing they're doing. So sometimes the property owner can be frustrated with the process itself, how hard it is to understand, how long it takes. And none of that has anything to do with the competence of the attorney that's been representing them. So, I'm not a very good business development person, I guess, because, I have these conversations all the time where I say, hey, the problem isn't your lawyer. The problem is the structure of this system. And the problem is, and so if you spend a few years, second guessing your colleagues in other firms and saying, no, they're doing a good job, they're doing exactly what I would do. Some of these people switch to me anyway, because they just say, you're such a good counselor. You explain it so well. So I have had a couple of portfolios come over just because of that. Not because I said, oh yes, give me your files, I'll do a much better job. As in fact, I said the opposite. But then there's another handful of firms where if they say, well, this is who's been representing me, I'll say, okay, I'm going to send you some forms to sign. I don't even have to pull the file to know that it's not probably going very well for them, and that I could probably do better. But that's the minority, I would say. That's not, that's not common in our practice area. It's the bar in the property tax area is pretty, in tune with what's going on. And I have a lot of respect for a lot of my, so-called competitors and other firms.
So which ones are the bad ones we should avoid? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What kind of questions do you recommend a business owner ask during an initial consultation just to see if the attorney's right for them is a good fit?
I think it depends on where the property is. If it's outside of Cook County, you want to make sure that they spend time outside of Cook County, that they're out there, caring about what the assessors think and say and do, and that they're out there trying to build a good brand for themselves and trying to be someone that people like and trust. And, if it's just easier, I think, to get things done out there, if you hire someone that spends time out there and has the knowledge about all those different counties. If it's inside of Cook County, I think it's a good thing to ask if they are under federal investigation. You might think I'm kidding. Yeah, there's been a lot of investigations and so forth, and I think it's totally valid to ask that question. There was a recent indictment for somebody who was certifying the certificates of error from 2-3 weeks ago. There was a indictment that came out, and it said basically that this person was accepting a lot of entertainment value from property tax firms. I think it said something like $500,000 to $1.5 million over the course of several years of tickets to sporting events and dinners and things like that. So they were talking about how this government official was being overly entertained by 3 different law firms. And the law firms aren't named. It's just as law firm A, B, or C. But I think it's valid to ask, are you law firm A, B, or C? I would ask that personally.
That's a good tip. That's not a tip everybody would give. So I think that's a good one, Nora. How can homeowners confirm that an attorney has successfully handled cases similar to theirs? Is there a process that they can go through?
I think a lot of the new clients that we get on the commercial side are coming from other commercial property owners who have liked how we work, what our process is, and what results we've been able to obtain. And they like our fee structure. We're happy to do alternative fee structures. We're happy to do subscription fee structures, bulk pricing, fee caps, things like that. So when you develop a reputation for getting great results and charging reasonable fees, the commercial owners of property do talk to each other, and they make recommendations. And
you mentioned earlier about, the technology and how firms are pretty far behind. I got to believe that also includes communication, because if people are kind of archaic with their technology, their communication might not exactly be the best as far as texting, as far as, how they communicate the information back and forth.
Depends. I mean, if you want a lawyer that's going to be happy to text with you, that's going to be rough. I don't know any law firms that are embracing the text messaging.
Yeah.
I don't, I try to keep email as my main channel of communication. So I have the opposite problem. If I have a client who is like barely able to check their email and is totally incapable of doing a digital signature, if the property is not like terribly oversessed. I mean, I sometimes tell those clients that we don't think we're a good fit for them because we are paperless and we are digital and we are tech enabled. And if this person wants to talk to me on the phone all the time, that's probably not going to happen. And if they're incapable of signing a document digitally, okay, we can work around that if we think that, it's worth it. But I mean, a lot of the cases we have are really, in our minds, a service to the clients. I mean, we have a lot of residential property that we're not expecting to make huge fees on or anything like that. We do it because we're true believers, and we believe that every property tax payer in Illinois deserves good advice about their property tax. And so we do take these cases that are less than profitable, but at the same time, we do need them to work with our systems, which is not heavy on the phone conversations. We don't text. And it's very heavy in terms of email, back and forth. We use email as our primary communication channel. And that can be difficult for clients who perhaps are older or perhaps just hate email. So it's right in my fee agreement. It's like, you agree to communicate by email. And it's just, and if you can't do it, then, we may be giving you status updates by email. And then you're saying, oh, I didn't read it. And it's like, well, it's right in my fee agreement. We will be sending you status updates by email. We put the fee agreement and the email address right there. We say, we are sending you status updates to this email. And this is where we need you to respond to us.
I'm always amazed that, like some of the younger generations are worse at email than my dad is. And it kind of shocks me. It shocks me
Yeah.
how many young people are just like, oh yeah, I don't really check my email. I'm like, really? I check my email
Yeah.
like all the time.
I know. We have 7 kids and 5 of them can drive. So believe me, I am acutely aware. And they know that if they need something, they better email me, because if they text me, that's in a vortex. The text is like, wow, I might not even read that. So the way to get on my calendar or my to-do list is to email me. And there's no other way to do it. And everyone in my family knows that, and all my clients know it, and all my employees know it too.
All right. Well, if you're listening and you want to reach out to Nora, head to the divinelawgroup.com and send an email through the website. And
100% by email response. It goes down from there. Text, phone. Ooh, my outgoing voicemail on my personal cell phone says, you've reached my cell phone. I don't check these messages.
it's so crazy. Like, I know what you mean. Like, if someone calls me, I'm like, well, they better be like in jail or something, because why are you calling me?
Why are you calling me? So now I'm at the point where my vendors, like, if you guys, if my marketing people or anybody else call me, I just say, hello. Like, I don't take unscheduled phone calls anymore. Can you email me and we'll find a time to meet? Because I am not, because the thing is I probably want to make some notes about what you're going to tell me, or you're probably going to ask me for a good date for something. And I am not going to have my calendar in front of me, and I'm not going to have my notes in front of me. And it's just not productive to just call people without scheduling something anymore, because
I agree.
You either want them to do something or you want them to schedule something. And I can neither do something nor schedule something without you planning the conversation with me in advance. Unfortunately, that's just how busy I am now. So
I'm the same way. Like, if someone calls me or tells me something in person, I'm like, business related, I'm like, email me and we'll get we'll get something taken care of. Otherwise I will never remember. Oh, I'll text you. Nope. It'll get lost in a sea of text.
I know. And if you get like a productivity coach, they tell you, stop using your email as a to-do list. And I'm like, then how would I have a to-do list if I didn't do that? That's
not the productivity coach for me then. Because
I hear what they're saying, but I don't agree.
I don't either. It's not my process. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Devine Intervention, shedding light on Illinois property tax with Nora Devine. To connect with Nora, you're going to want to email her. And once again, that website is thedivinelawgroup.com. And please like and subscribe to our channel. Nora, always good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.